Jinwoo wiped the grease from his hands with an old rag and looked at the broken air filter he had just fixed. The machine hummed back to life, filling the small repair room with clean air. He smiled a little. It was not much, but every small victory made him feel good about his work. The space station Kepler 442 was not the most exciting place to live. Most people called it a boring mining station at the edge of nowhere. But Jinwoo was more interested in Bomi, who was sitting in her favorite sunny spot by the window. She looked like a perfectly normal orange kitten except for her eyes. They held an intelligence that seemed ancient and patient. The other cats on the station, Jinwoo asked, "Are they all guardian spirits too?" So Young nodded. "Every Earth cat carries the potential, but they usually stay hidden unless their humans are in real danger. Your Bomi is special because she recognized us immediately. She knew we were not a threat to you personally, just to humans in general. That is why she chose to negotiate instead of attack." Taemin added, looking at the small cat with respect. Attack. Jinwoo looked at his tiny kitten. What could she have done? The three vampires exchanged glances. Nari spoke carefully. The ancient texts mention guardian spirits that could grow to the size of ships, spirits that could walk through solid walls, spirits that could call down lightning from empty space. We are very glad she chose diplomacy. Commander Park was reading reports on her computer screen. "The Earth government wants to know everything that happened here," she said. "They are sending scientists to study the cats and military advisors to plan for more alien contacts." As she spoke, Nari handed Jinwoo the crystal she had promised earlier. "This navigation crystal will let you travel anywhere in the galaxy. You could see wonders beyond imagination, buy a ship, explore strange worlds. Live adventures most humans only dream about." Jinwoo held the glowing crystal and felt its warm energy. But he looked around his small, simple life, his repair job, his quiet apartment, his kitten sleeping in the sunlight. "I think I will stay here for now," he said. "Someone needs to keep the machines working, and Bomi likes her sunny spot by the window." But even as he said it, Jinwoo knew his quiet life was over. Word was already spreading across the galaxy. The humans had guardian spirits. The humans never surrendered. The humans could turn anything into a weapon, and anyone into an ally. Species that had planned to conquer Earth were now sending diplomatic messages. Others were requesting trade agreements. The galaxy was learning that humanity was not as helpless as they appeared. The vampires prepared to leave, but Nari turned back at the door. "Your species will face many challenges in the coming years," she said. "Other aliens will test you. Some will try to befriend you. Others will try to destroy you, but you have something most species lack." So Young added, "You have guardians that choose to protect you, and you have the strength to protect each other." Taemin smiled, showing his fangs. The hegemony learned that lesson the hard way. They thought they were hunting prey. Instead, they found predators. After the vampires left, Jinwoo sat with Commander Park, going over reports from across human space. Every colony had similar stories: cats acting strange, aliens retreating, human defenses working better than they should. "It is like they were all waiting for some kind of signal," Park said. "The cats, I mean, like they were sleeping and something woke them up." Jinwoo looked at Bomi, who had finished her nap and was now playing with a piece of string. "Maybe they were," he said. "Maybe they have been waiting for humans to need them on." Dozens of world's cats were sitting up straighter. Their eyes glowed a little brighter. They watched the stars with new interest, as if remembering something important about their purpose. The age of humanity among the stars had begun, and it started with a kitten hiss. Nari had lived for over 1,000 years, but she had never felt terror like this before. The small orange creature on the human shoulder looked harmless, but every instinct in her vampire body screamed danger. She pressed herself against the cold metal wall of the hallway and tried to remember how to breathe. Taemin and So Young were just as scared. They had followed Nari across 7 star systems because she was the strongest vampire. They knew she could tear through steel with her bare hands and move faster than human eyes could follow, but now she was shaking like a leaf in a storm. The human Jinwoo looked confused. He was petting the small creature gently, and it seemed to calm down a little. Its fur was still standing up, but the terrible hissing had stopped. "Her name is Bomi," Jinwoo said again, looking between the vampires and his kitten. "She's just a regular house cat. I found her when she was tiny. She likes to sleep in sunny spots and chase toy mice," but Nari knew better. She had spent centuries studying the old texts, learning about the ancient wars between her kind and other species. The stories told of earth creatures that could see through any disguise and sense evil from miles away. Guardian spirits they were, called small four-legged hunters that protected human settlements. The text said they looked harmless but could grow to the size of buildings when their humans were in danger. Some could walk through walls. Others could call lightning from clear skies impossible. Taman whispered. His silver hair was damp with sweat. The ancient texts were just stories, legends to scare young vampires, but Nari remembered more details now. The guardian spirits were said to have bright green eyes that glowed. In the dark, they could sense the true nature of any being that approached their humans. They were the reason vampires had avoided Earth for so long. The small cat turned its head to look directly at Nari. Its green eyes seemed to look right through her skin and into her soul. Nari felt exposed, like all her secrets were being read, like words on a page. Your companion has marked us, Nari said to Jinwoo. Her voice was barely a whisper. We cannot simply take you now. The guardian spirits have ways of making those who harm their humans suffer for eternity. Jinwoo looked down at Bami, who had started grooming her paw like nothing strange was happening. She is just a cat, he said, but his voice was not as sure as before. Maybe you are Mr. Kenso Young. Stepped forward, carefully keeping her distance from the kitten. I have read the same texts as Nari. The old stories say these creatures bonded with humans during their early days on Earth. They helped humans hunt and protected their homes from night night creatures like us, Taemin added quietly. It was getting colder. Jinwoo could see his breath now, and frost was forming on the metal walls. The lights flickered, and somewhere in the distance they could hear the sound of other cats meowing. It was like they were answering some call that only they could hear. Nari had made a terrible mistake. She had thought humans were weak creatures that could be easily captured and used, but this one had a guardian spirit, and guardian spirits were connected to something much larger and more dangerous perhaps. We can make a deal, Nari said carefully. Human, your blood for safe passage. Your guardian allows us to leave in peace, and we give you something valuable in return. Jinwoo was quiet for a long moment. He looked at Bami, who had stopped grooming and was watching the vampires again. Her tail was still twitched, but she seemed less angry now. What kind of deal? He asked. Nari reached slowly into her robe and pulled out a small crystal that glowed with blue light. A navigation crystal from our homeworld. It is worth more than this entire space station. With it you could buy a ship, travel anywhere, live like a king, but more importantly, Taemin added, we promise to leave you unharmed. If we break this promise, your guardian will hunt us across the galaxy. Our deaths would be slow and painful. Jinwoo looked at the crystal, then at his kitten. Bomi meowed once softly and jumped down from his shoulder. She walked slowly toward the three vampires, who all took steps backward. She sniffed the air near Mary's feet, then sat down and began purring loudly. I think she is saying you are telling the truth, Jinwoo said with wonder. She always knows when people are lying. She hides when my supervisor comes around because he always lies about his work hours. The vampires relaxed just a little, but they were still ready to run if the small cat changed her mind. Tell me more about this plague, Jinwoo said. If you want my blood, I need to know why. Nari took a deep breath. Our people have ruled over 12 star systems for thousands of years. We are hunters, fighters, conquerors. But 6 months ago a disease appeared. It attacks our enhanced immune systems. We grow weak, then fade to dust like we never existed. So Young pulled out a small device that showed pictures in the air. We have tested thousands of species across the galaxy. Only human blood contains the right combination of antibodies, but getting it has been difficult. Your people fight back harder than we expected. Jinwoo raised his eyebrows. Humans have been fighting. Vampirestamin nodded. Your military destroyed 3 of our ships last month. Your weapons are simple, but your tactics are clever, and you never give up even when you are clearly going to lose. It is quite frustrating, actually. The device showed images of space battles. Human ships were smaller and looked less advanced, but they moved in patterns that confused the vampire forces. They used tricks and traps that no other species had tried. Your people turn everything into weapons, So Young explained. Cargo ships become bombs. Repair drones become spies. Mining equipment becomes artillery. It is like fighting an entire species of engineers. Jinwoo felt a strange pride hearing this. He had always thought of humans as weak compared to the aliens they met in space. But maybe they were stronger than anyone realized. If I give you some blood, he said slowly, what promise do I have that you will not just kill me afterward? Nari pointed at Bomi, who was still purring and watching them. Your guardian has marked our souls. If we betray you, she will know we would face punishment beyond death. The guardian spirits can reach across dimensions and time. They never forget, and they never forgive. Ibomi stood up and walked back to Jinwoo. She rubbed against his legs and looked up at him with her bright green eyes. Something in her expression seemed to say, it was okay to trust these strange visitors, all right. Jinwoo said, I will help you, but I have conditions of my own. The blood extraction should have been simple. Nari had brought medical equipment from her ship that could safely take what they needed without hurting. Jinwoo, too badly, the machines were small and silver and hummed with quiet power. They had moved inside Jinwoo's apartment because the hallway was too cold, and many people were starting to notice the three vampires sat awkwardly on his old couch while Bomi claimed her favorite chair by the window. She watched them like a tiny orange Jinwoo made tea for everyone, even though the vampires did not seem to need it. His hands were still shaking a little, but keeping busy helped him feel more normal. Let me explain our situation properly, Nari said, accepting the cup of hot tea with careful hands. Our clan has ruled over 12 star systems for thousands of years. We are hunters and fighters and conquerors. But a plague is killing us now. Min pulled out a device that made pictures appear in the air above the coffee table. The images showed vampire cities with tall, dark buildings and ships that look like metal insects. We have tested thousands of different species across the galaxy. Only human blood has the right antibodies. Jinwoo watched the pictures change, showing laboratories and test results. Your people have been fighting vampires. He is so young nodded. Your military destroyed 3 of our ships last month. Your weapons are simple, but your people are very clever fighters, and you never give up even when you should. We find it quite annoying, actually. The pictures showed space battles. Human ships were smaller, but they moved in ways that confused the vampire fleets. They used tricks and traps and turned everything into weapons. Your species is strange, Nari said. Sipping her tea, you take broken things and make them work again. You turn peaceful tools into weapons. You make allies out of enemies. It is not how most species think. Jinwoo felt proud hearing this. He had always thought humans were weak compared to other aliens, but maybe they were stronger than anyone realized in different ways. Bomi jumped down from her chair and walked over to the medical equipment. She sniffed at the silver machines, and her tail started twitching the way it did when she found something interesting or dangerous. The vampires watched her nervously. They had relaxed a little since coming inside, but they were still afraid of the small cat. She is checking if your machines are safe. Jinwoo realized Bomi always investigates new things. She once found a gas leak in the kitchen that the sensors missed. Guardian spirits can sense hidden dangers. Temin said quietly, perhaps we should listen to her. Bomi circled the medical equipment twice, then sat down in front of it. She meowed once softly, then looked at Jinwoo. Her green eyes seemed to be saying something, but he could not understand what it should be. Safe, Jinwoo said, but he trusted Bomi more than he trusted the strangers. What is she trying to tell us before anyone could answer? Bomi suddenly jumped onto the table where the equipment sat. She knocked over one of the silver machines with her paw. It crashed to the floor and broke open, spilling out strange components. Bomi, no, Jinwoo reached for his kitten, but she was already running to the corner of the room. She started meowing loudly at a section of wall that looked perfectly normal. The vampires looked at each other with worry. Guardian spirits can sense things we cannot. So young said, maybe there is something we miss. Jinwoo walked over to where Bomi was pawing at the wall. He pressed his ear against the metal and heard a very faint humming sound. There is something behind here, he said, using his repair tools. Jinwoo carefully opened a hidden panel behind the wall. Inside was a small device covered in alien symbols. It was blinking with a soft red light and making the humming sound. So young gasped when she saw it. A quantum transmitter. Someone has been watching us this entire time. Nari stood up quickly, her red eyes flashing with anger. The hegemony, they must have followed us here. She turned to Jinwoo, looking worried. We have been betrayed. There are other aliens who want to capture humans and use them as blood farms. The device kept blinking and the humming got louder, as if it was calling to something far away. They have been tracking our movements, Taemin said, studying the alien device, waiting for us to find valuable humans like you. Then they swoop in and take everything. Jinwoo felt cold, but not from vampire magic. This was the cold of real fear. Other aliens wanted to capture him and probably everyone else on the space station. How many people would die because of his special blood as if summoned by the device, the lights in his apartment suddenly went out emergency. Sirens started wailing throughout the space station. The sound was loud and urgent like nothing Jinwoo had ever heard before. Through his small window, he could see shapes moving in the darkness of space. Large ships were approaching the station. Their hulls were black and covered in sharp spikes. They looked like metal wasps. How many ships? So Young asked, looking at her scanner. Taemin checked his own device. 12 battle cruisers. They outgun us completely. His face was pale even for a vampire. They are not here for us anymore. They want you and every other human on this station. Jinwoo picked up Bomi, who had stopped meowing and was now purring loudly. Her small body was warm against his chest, and somehow that made him feel braver. The station defense systems were weak. Mining stations were not built for war. The approaching ships could destroy Kepler 442 in minutes if they wanted to, but they would not destroy it. They wanted the humans alive. Then we fight them, Jinwoo said, surprising himself. All three vampires stared at him. You want to fight an entire fleet? Nari asked, her voice full of amazement. Jinwoo scratched Bomi behind the ears and she purred even louder. You said humans never give up? Well, this human has a guardian spirit and 3 vampire allies. Let us show these hegemony bullies what Earth children can do. The vampires looked at each other, then back at Jinwoo. Something changed in their expressions. The fear was still there, but now there was also respect and maybe even hope. Very well, Nari said, standing up. If you want to fight, we will fight with you, but you should know these hegemony forces are dangerous. They have conquered dozens of worlds. It just means they are not used to losing, Jinwoo said, walking toward his toolbox. Every machine has weak points. You just have to know where to look. Bomi meowed once as if agreeing with him. Her green eyes were glowing brighter in the emergency lighting. The battle for Kepler 442 was about to begin. The space station Kepler 442 had never been built for war. Its shields were made to stop small asteroids, not military weapons. Its weapons were just mining lasers meant for cutting rock, but Jinwoo knew every pipe, every wire, every hidden system better than anyone else on the station. In the main engineering section, he worked frantically while the 3 vampires helped him. The emergency lights cast strange shadows on the walls, and the sirens never stopped wailing. The fusion reactors can. The overloaded, Jinwoo explained while pulling apart a control panel. It will create an electromagnetic pulse that knocks out their sensors for maybe 10 minutes. Nari watched him work with growing amazement. You are turning civilian equipment into weapons, she said with respect. Your guardian is helping too. She seems to know which tools you need before you ask it. Was true. Bomi had become Jinwoo's perfect assistant. The little cat would tap specific tools with her paw or meow when he was about to make a mistake. Her green eyes seemed to see patterns in the machinery that even Jinwoo missed. Outside, they could hear the sound of metal tearing. The hegemony troops were cutting through the station outer hull. They would be inside soon. Taemin was monitoring the enemy communications. They are demanding surrender of all human blood carriers. He reported resistance will result in immediate termination. So Young laughed, but it was not a happy sound. These aliens have no idea what they are facing. Do they know what happened to the last species that tried to farm humans? What happened? Jinwoo asked while connecting power cables. Humans turned their entire solar system into a weapon, Nari said with dark pride. They moved asteroids around their sun to create a giant laser cannon. Then they used it to destroy the enemy homeworld. No mercy, no negotiations, just total victory. Jinwoo felt that strange pride again. Maybe humans really were stronger than they seemed. The first hegemony soldiers broke through the hull just as Jinwoo finished his modifications. These aliens were nightmares made real. 8 feet tall, covered in black armor, with 4 arms that ended in razor-sharp claws. Their leader spoke through the station communication system. Surrender the human blood carriers immediately. Resistance is pointless. Jinwoo picked up Bomi and held her close. She was purring so loudly he could feel the vibration through his chest. Are you ready, little guardian? He asked. Bomi looked up at him with bright green eyes and meowed once. It sounded like yes, ready. Taemin asked, his hands on his weapons. Jinwoo activated his modifications, and the station lights flickered between normal and emergency rid. Let us remind them why vampires feared Earth guardians, he said. The electromagnetic pulse hit the hegemony ships like an invisible hammer. Their advanced computers went offline, their weapons stopped working, and their formation broke apart in confusion, but something else happened. That Jinwoo had not expected every cat on the space station began to yowl at exactly the same time. There were not many cats on Kepler 442. Maybe 30 or 40 pets belonging to various workers, but their voices joined together in a sound that echoed through the metal corridors like an ancient war song. The hegemony troops, who had been advancing confidently, suddenly stopped, their helmeted heads turned toward the sound with what looked like worry. The guardian spirits are calling to each. Others so young whispered in amazement. They are organizing through the security cameras. Jinwo watched something impossible. Cats were appearing in corridors where no cats should be. They moved with purpose, their eyes glowing in the emergency lighting. Some seemed larger than they should be, others flickered in and out of sight like ghosts. A group of hegemony soldiers tried to advance down Corridor 7, but 3 house cats blocked their way. The soldiers laughed and raised their weapons, but when they fired, their energy blasts passed right through the cats like they were made of smoke. Then the cats attacked. Jinwo could not believe what he was seeing on the security screens. The small earth creatures moved like liquid lightning. They appeared behind the soldiers and vanished before claws could reach them. They seemed to multiply, creating confusion and fear. The soldiers tried to retreat, but more cats appeared, blocking their escape routes. The corridor filled with the sound of alien screams and the angry yowling of defending guardians. "This is impossible," one of the hegemony commanders said over the radio. These are just small animals, but his troops were falling back. Anyway, their advanced armor and weapons were useless against enemies that could not be touched. They fired at shadows and hit empty air while claws found gaps in their protection. In the engineering section, Bomi jumped onto the main control console. She walked across the buttons in a specific pattern. And suddenly, every speaker on the station came alive with the sound of cat voices. It was not just the cats on Kepler 442. Now the sound system was somehow connecting to other stations, other planets. Other ships. Cats across human space were adding their voices to the chorus. The hegemony fleet began to retreat, their ships pulled back from the station, and their troops evacuated as fast as they could. Jinwoo watched through the cameras as armored soldiers ran from house cats that should not have been able to hurt them. "What just happened?" he asked, still holding Bomi, who was now grooming her paw like nothing strange had occurred. The guardian spirits remembered their true purpose, Nari said with wonder. They have been sleeping, waiting for the right moment. Now they are awake, and they are angry. On the communication system they could hear hegemony commanders trying to explain their defeat to their superiors. "The humans have allied with ancient forces," one reported. "We lost 6 ships to ghost cats and impossible tactics. Recommend immediate withdrawal from human space." Jinwoo looked around at the 3 vampires who were staring at him with new respect. Then he looked down at Bami, who meowed softly and rubbed against his handi. "Think we won," he said, but something told him this was just the beginning. The space station Kepler 442 had never been designed for combat. Its shields were meant to deflect asteroids, not military-grade plasma cannons. But Jinwoo knew every maintenance tunnel, every backup system, every hidden feature that could be weaponized. In the engineering section, he worked frantically alongside the 3 vampires. "The fusion reactors can be overloaded to create an electromagnetic pulse," he explained while rewiring control panels. "It'll knock out their sensors for about 10 minutes. Nari watched him work with growing admiration. "You're transforming civilian equipment into weapons. Impressive." She paused. "Your guardian is also impressive. She seems to know which wires you need before you ask for them." It was true. Bomi had somehow become Jinwoo's perfect assistant. The little cat would tap specific tools with her paw or meow when he was about to make a mistake. Her green eyes seemed to see patterns in the complex machinery that even Jinwoo missed. The first hegemony troops broke through the station's outer hull just as Jinwoo finished his modifications. These aliens looked like walking nightmares. 8 feet tall, covered in black armor, with 4 arms that ended in razor-sharp claws. "Surrender the human blood carriers," their leader commanded through the CUM system. "Resistance will result in immediate termination." Taemin laughed darkly. "These fools have no idea what they're facing." He turned to Jinwoo. "Are you ready?" "Human?" Jinwoo picked up Bomi and held her close. Ready as I'll ever be. He activated his modifications, and the station's lights flicked between normal and emergency red. Let's remind them why vampires feared Earth's guardians. The electromagnetic pulse hit the hegemony ships like an invisible hammer. Their advanced targeting systems went offline, their communication arrays went silent, and their formation broke apart in confusion. But more importantly, something else happened. Every cat on the space station began to yowl at the same time. There weren't many cats on Kepler 442. Maybe 30 or 40 pets belonging to various residents. But their combined voices created an otherworldly sound that echoed through the metal corridors. The hegemony troops stopped advancing, their heads turning nervously at the haunting chorus. The guardian spirits are calling to each other, So Young whispered in awe. They're organizing. Through the station's cameras, Jin watched something impossible. Cats were appearing in corridors where no cats should be. They moved with purpose, their eyes glowing in the emergency lighting. Some seemed larger than they should be. Others appeared and disappeared like shadows. The hegemony troops began to retreat. 6 months later, Jinwoo was still living on Kepler 442, but everything else had changed. The small mining station was now one of the most important places in human space. Scientists came to study Bomi and the other cats. Military leaders came to learn about the guardian spirit phenomenon. Diplomats came to meet with alien visitors who wanted to understand humanity better. Jinwoo still fixed machines, but now he also helped design new ones, the electromagnetic pulse weapon he had created. During the battle was being installed on human ships across the galaxy. His simple modifications had become advanced military technology. Bomi had become famous across human space. There were documentaries about her, scientific papers written about guardian spirits, and even toys made to look like orange kittens, but she seemed completely unbothered by the attention. She still slept in sunny spots, chased dust particles, and purred when Jinwoo scratched behind her ears. The 3 vampires visited regularly. Their clan was healthy again thanks to the antibodies in human blood, but more importantly, they had become valuable allies. They shared their knowledge of galactic politics and helped humans navigate complex alien relationships. Today was special, though. Commander Park had called a meeting with representatives from 12 different alien species. Everyone wanted to understand what made humans so effective at turning enemies into friends. The main conference room was crowded with beings Jinwoo had never seen before. There were tall blue creatures with too many arms, short furry aliens that looked like walking teddy bears, crystalline beings that communicated through colored lights, gaseous entities that existed in special containment suits. At the center of it all sat Jinwoo with Bomi on his lap, feeling completely out of place. The representative from the crystalline consortium spoke first through a translation device. We have studied your species for months. Your technology is average. Your physical abilities are unremarkable. Yet you consistently achieve impossible victories. How? Jinwoo looked around the room at all the expectant faces, alien and human alike. He was just a repair technician who happened to have a special cat. How was he supposed to explain humanity to the galaxy? Maybe it is because we do not think like you do, he said slowly. When you see a broken machine, we see parts that can be used to build something new. When you see an enemy, we see someone who might become a friend if we understand them better. The teddy bear alien chittered in what sounded like laughter. Your species takes damaged things and makes them stronger, including yourselves. That is true, said the vampire Neri, who was attending as an honored guest. When we threatened Jinwoo, he did not just submit or fight back. He found a way to help us while protecting himself and others. His guardian spirit guided him toward cooperation instead of conflict. Bomi meowed softly, and several of the alien representatives leaned forward with interest. The small cat had become a symbol of something they were all trying to understand. The gaseous entity spoke through electronic speakers. Guardian spirits are not unique to Earth. Many worlds have protective creatures, but yours are different. They do not just defend, they teach, they help their bonded species grow stronger. A holographic display showed images from across human space. Cats were indeed different. Now they were more active in helping their humans solve problems. They seemed to understand technology better. They could sense alien intentions with startling accuracy. But They were still cats, they still played with toys, demanded food at inconvenient times, and knocked things off tables for no apparent reason. I think that is the point, Jinwoo said as Bomi started grooming her paw. Our guardians remind us not to take ourselves too seriously. They keep us humble even when we are being clever. The blue alien with multiple arms gestured excitedly. Your species combines wisdom with foolishness, strength with compassion, advanced thinking with simple emotions. It should not work, but somehow it does. Commander Park stood up to address the gathering. In the past 6 months, humanity has gone from being a minor species to a major galactic power, but we did not do it through conquest or intimidation. We did it by being ourselves. The meeting continued for hours with aliens asking questions about human psychology, military tactics, and the mysterious bond between people and cats. Jinwoo answered as best he could, but he kept feeling like they were missing something important. Finally, the session ended, and most of the aliens left to return to their ships or continue their research. Only the vampires remained along with Commander Park and a few human scientists. Nari approached Jinwoo with something like sadness in her ancient eyes. You know this cannot last forever, she said. The quiet life you want. Jinwoo nodded, looking out the window at the busy space traffic that now surrounded Kepler 442. I know more challenges are coming. Other species will test us. Some will try to copy what we do. Others will try to destroy it, but that is okay, Taemin added, because you have something they cannot copy or destroy. You have each other, and you have guardians who chose to love you instead of just protect. Yobami jumped down from Jinwoo's lap and walked over to the large window. She put her paws up on the glass and looked out at the stars. Her green eyes reflected the distant lights like tiny galaxies. Maybe she was thinking about the future, maybe she was remembering the past, or maybe she was just watching for birds. Jinwoo picked up his kitten and felt her familiar warmth against his chest. Whatever comes next, he thought, we will face it together. Across human space, millions of cats were doing the same thing, looking at the stars with bright eyes and patient hearts, ready for whatever the galaxy might bring. The legend of Earth Guardians was spreading to distant worlds. Species that had never heard of cats were learning about small, fierce creatures that bonded with humans and made them stronger. Some aliens were even trying to find guardian spirits of their own, though none seemed to work quite the same way. But Jinwoo knew the real secret. It was not about the cats themselves. It was about the love between species that chose each other, the trust that let humans and cats work together as partners instead of master and pet, the willingness to protect something smaller than yourself while learning from something older than your civilization. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not through conquest but through connection. Not by being the strongest or smartest, but by being the species that turned enemies into friends and made families out of strangers. And it all started with a kitten who hissed at the right moment and changed everything. The end was really just the beginning. As long as humans and cats chose to love each other, the galaxy would never be quite the same. And somewhere in the vast darkness between stars, other species were learning that the most powerful force in the universe might not be technology or weapons or ancient magic. It might just be a purr in the dark and a hand that reaches out to offer comfort to a small, frightened creature. It might be the moment when two different species decide to trust each other completely. The legend would grow, the stories would spread, and someday when the galaxy faced its greatest challenge, it would remember the lesson learned on a small mining station at the edge of nowhere. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness can change the course of history. Sometimes a kitten hiss can save the world. Jinwoo liked the quiet life. He had a small apartment on level 7, a steady job fixing things, and his little orange kitten. Bomi was the best part of his day. She had been just a tiny ball of fur when he found her in the cargo bay 6 months ago. Someone had probably smuggled her aboard by accident. Now she was his constant companion, following him around the apartment and purring when he came home from work. Today felt different, though. Jinwoo could not explain why, but something in the air seemed strange. Even Bomi had been acting weird all morning. She kept staring at the door and making small, worried sounds. Jinwoo finished cleaning his tools and headed home. His apartment was small, just 2 rooms and a tiny kitchen, but it was enough. The walls were painted light blue, and he had put up pictures of Earth from old travel magazines. He had never been to Earth, but he liked to imagine what it would be like to see real trees and Ocean's Bomi was waiting by the door. When he arrived, she rubbed against his legs and meowed softly. Jinwoo picked her up and scratched behind her ears. "The fruit is coming, little one," he said in a gentle voice. "I know you are hungry," but Bomi jumped out of his arms and ran to the door. She sat there staring at it with her bright green eyes. Her tail was twitching back and forth the way it did when she was nervous. Jinwoo frowned. "What is wrong, girl?" Before he could think about it more, the door chime rang. Jinwoo was not expecting anyone. He did not have many friends on the station, and his supervisor never visited after work hours. Who could it be, he wondered? The chime rang again, this time longer and more demanding. Jinwoo walked to the door and pressed the button to see who was outside. The small screen showed 3 tall figures standing in the hallway. They wore long, dark robes that covered their face. Jinwoo had never seen them before, and something about them made his skin crawl. They stood too still, like statues. The one in front was taller than the others, and even through the screen Jinwoo could feel cold coming from them. He almost did not answer the door, but the chime rang a 3rd time, and he knew they would not go away. "Yes," he called through the door. "What do you want?" "We need to speak with you." The voice that answered was cold like winter wind on metal. It sounded like a woman, but there was something